If you're a real estate investor that's looking to bring more deals into your pipeline without you having to pay a lot more for Facebook ads or send out more direct mail or make more cold calls, and you're looking for a lot more referrals and to be the local authority in your market, then this is going to be an episode that you're going to want to take a lot of notes on. I've got my good buddy Paul Myers out of Augusta, Georgia on the line today. And what Paul has been able to do over the course of the last 4 to 5 years is really build a massive authority within his Augusta, Georgia market. He's actually been in the real estate investing space. He bought his first rental property at 20 years old, and that was a very long time ago. Then he's always kind of worked with realtors and agents over the course of his corporate career. I think he had a corporate career of 13 years, if I'm not mistaken, and then went full-time into his real estate investing business in early 2021. So he's been doing that since then, and he has been really dominant when it comes to relationship building in his market with the people that actually have access to deals. So a lot of his deals, and he even gave us a number since taking it very seriously of building relationships with realtors in 2022. Since then, up to date, he's had over $1 million in net profit specifically off of those type of leads, which is amazing. Now we talk about spending time for marketing and spending money for marketing. He's chosen the route of spending some time because a lot of that takes intentionality. You have to make good relationships with the realtors. They're not just going to bring you a deal after you shake their hand for the first time or you give them a phone call and you're cold calling them or whatever it is. You're going to need to develop that relationship. And there's some really good methods that we talk about here on the episode. But it's very important to make sure that you have a really good system for creating referrals with realtors in your market and becoming that local authority. The next thing that we actually talk about is Google reviews. Now, one of the things that I kind of had prodded to get him on the podcast was because I was a part of a mastermind called Collective Genius with Paul, and I was in the same room as him as he gave a presentation about Google reviews. At the current moment, his brand, Myers House Buyers, has over 700 reviews. Very high positive stuff. Now, the thing is that, and I actually run a live demonstration on the search engines and the search results with Google and with ChatGPT on credibility and authority. I asked ChatGPT, if I'm a seller and I'm looking to sell my house as is in Augusta, Georgia, who should I sell to? He was the number one result and had amazing reviews from the Better Business Bureau and from Google Reviews. And ChatGPT scraped all that information from there. So we talk about building your presence with a Google My Business profile, how to get great reviews, and how to actually lock those reviews down to make it easy for people to do that for you. And he gives some really good methods and tactics on making that happen. But I'm really excited to have Paul on the show. He's a great guy, down-to-earth human being, got a great family as well, and runs a very, very ethical and good business. So without further ado, you guys are going to get a lot of value out of this, I promise you. And I think that you're going to have a lot of action items to take away from here. So just make sure to take it into bite-sized pieces. So without further ado, now let's go ahead and get into the episode. Here's my good friend, Paul Myers. Welcome back to the REI Marketing Weekly. It's your host, Josh Culler. And today I'm very excited to bring to you my good friend out of Georgia, Paul Myers. How you doing, my buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much for having me on. It's good to spend time with you.
Absolutely. We got a couple of really good conversations we're going to be talking about today that I'm pretty excited about. One of them, building relationships with realtors and how you've been able to generate lots of really good, juicy deals with that. But the other one that I'm very excited about is Google reviews. So this is a very niche topic that I've not really had. I've had people on the show that have kind of skimmed over it and the way that they operate it and that sort of thing. But I really wanted to utilize your expertise in this and dial this way in because I think this is a very big missed opportunity, as you know, obviously, for people that are running the real estate businesses. You actually got up in front of a group of guys at a mastermind, Collective Genius, and talked about this specifically. And it rang a bell in me, and I was like, man, this is something that everybody in the room needs to focus on if they're generating leads, especially if they're wanting to become that local market authority. So and this is probably applicable to investors that go nationwide or are in multiple markets, but especially those who are very niched into a very specific one single market. This is where it's an absolute must because you're going to be known as that local authority. So we're going to kind of branch into those two types of conversations. But I guess one of the first things that I would say is, in terms of relationships building with realtors, kind of brief me on how that's developed, where that's come from over the years for you, and why you think that it's very vital for investors to do this in their markets.
Yeah. It's not vital if you just want to stay on the 100% paid channels.
Sure.
But Man, that is a rat race. That's a hamster wheel, because if you look at the majority of sellers, they sell you one property and they're done, right? And there's no prospect for repeat business. And that really bugged me my first couple of years of having my own investment firm. And so I didn't like that at all. I wanted the prospect of potentially doing more deals. Keith Cunningham says it best in his book, The Road Less Stupid. He says, one of his thinking time questions is, what would I have to do today such if 100% of my future business came through only referrals? So in reflecting on that question, I realized, man, I want to build relationships with real estate agents that can be, repeat customers. They could bring me homes over my entire investing career. So that's kind of where the idea originated for me back in 2021. After I had my first full year in business, first full calendar year, I was like, man, there's got to be a better way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And so, like, what are some of the efforts that you've made to reach out to these realtors? Is it like cold touches? Are you meeting them at events? Like, how are you actually getting in touch with these realtors? And then, of course, like, there's that whole mantra of like, how many realtors in the country actually have never done a deal before? Like, are you looking for those realtors that are active inside of your market? Are you actively looking for those people? Like, how do you kind of filter through that too?
Yeah. Well, coming into January of 2022 is when I began my hyper focus on building win-win relationships with real estate agents at a community-wide level. So prior to that, for 14, 15 years, I had my license. I did no transactions, so I was one of those agents, right, with no production. But I was keeping my license active, and I kind of knew the agent world, and I'd spent some time as a commercial real estate agent, I guess technically, my last couple years of my career before I retired. And so originally it was like, hey, I know about 50 to 100 agents. That's going to kind of be the first group I reach out to. And it was, and that was warm. But in my market, Augusta, Georgia, with a population of 530,000 people, there were another 2,200 agents total, about 1,600 of which had done a deal and registered a statistic in the MLS, the multiple listing service. So for me, I didn't care about the 600 that hadn't done a deal. I was more interested in the 1,600.
Yeah.
So I had warm outreach to 50 to 100, and then I had cold outreach to another 1,500. And that cold outreach really started with, I would call it a blitzkrieg, right? Like when the German tanks were wanting to break through the Maginot Line, they just blitzkrieged and sent everybody they had to dominate France and make them surrender so quickly. That was my line of thinking, is like, I'm going to cold call them. When they don't answer, I'm going to leave a voicemail. Then I'm going to send them a text message. Then I'm going to send them an email with my credibility packet. And by the way, the text message is going to have a JPEG image with my buy box. And then I'm going to connect with them on Facebook, send them a friend request so they can put a face to a name. I'll do the same thing on LinkedIn if they're on LinkedIn. And then I'm going to put it in my CRM so that I can email them through a newsletter over time on a monthly basis. And then I'm going to put notes in the CRM inside their profile. If I did talk to them, how did the conversation go? Did they mention anything of worth? And so you're looking at like 9 touches in a 10-minute time frame, assuming they didn't answer and we didn't have a call. That was my blitzkrieg, right? To, as Grant Cardone would say, overcome obscurity and make sure that all the agents knew who I was. And then I had different ways on an ongoing basis to basically scale that through an email newsletter and mass texting and some other means.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Now, I want to get into that in just a second. But before we go any further, some of the thoughts that I'm sure some of the listeners are thinking about, like right now, is like, that's all great and it sounds good. And of course, like, if I can just like build my business and leads upon referrals from other realtors or, whoever else, and I'm not having to run my own marketing campaign, send direct mail, text blasting, that sort of thing to cold leads and all that mess that you said can be a rat race. What kind of results has this generated for you? You gave me a number at the beginning of the episode, but I want people to listen and ears perk up like, oh, this is what it did for Paul, like this process since 2021. I think you said 2022, you actively, like aggressively started doing this. What kind of results has that generated for you?
I'll give them to you in two phases, right? So I actually started with real estate agents in 2007. I had a 13-year career in corporate America from 2007 to 2020, age 22 to age 35. During those 13 years, all I did was work with real estate agents, and all I was a buy and hold landlord. It's the only thing I knew how to do. I was a one-trick pony. But I worked with real estate agents exclusively, specifically bank-owned REO agents. And those bank-owned REO agents, by God's grace and generosity, through buying from them and letting them double dip, I was able to become a multimillionaire through building a rental portfolio and essentially get out of the rat race, if you will, getting my passive income greater than my monthly living expenses. But then I forgot about that because when I came into the current world I have and started my own real estate investing firm, got involved with masterminds like Feel Like a Genius, all anyone ever talked about was paid marketing. So I kind of forgot my roots, so to speak, and I had to be reminded of that. So it took me 2020, 2021 to be reminded of how painful it is to invest money into marketing channels and not get any return. One time I spent $45,000 on PPC and Facebook ads through a vendor, and I got no closed deals from it. That was very painful.
Yeah.
And so I was like trying to figure out, how do I build relationships with real estate agents that are real, that are win-win, where they can trust me. And so I started that hyper-focus my second calendar year in business. So it was January of 2022. And since January 2022 up till what is today, it's March 10th, 2025. So I guess that would be, let me think, 1, 2, 3 years and 2 months. We're now over $1 million in margin with essentially what I would say is $0 in marketing spend. I mean, I spent literally only a couple $1,000 keeping my license active, paying for CE, sponsoring a couple real estate agent events. But that is it. Is there a couple $1,000 and you're talking about a return on, with over $1 million in gross profit.
Yeah. And that's time investment too, right? Like I think, ultimately it is easier for us to invest our time because it's like, because in marketing, you either pay for marketing with time or you pay for marketing with dollars, right? Or you could do a little bit of both. And when it comes down to it, the relationship building side of things, like all the efforts, I think you mentioned 9 touch points with what you do for a realtor. It seems like a lot of people just aren't willing to put that kind of grit and grind into the building of a relationship. But like you said, I really love the method because when a seller, regardless of the fact if we want referrals back and we want like repeat business and that sort of thing, motivated seller lead, if you generate that from a direct mail campaign or cold calling or whatever it is that you're doing, that person's going to sell you one house. You're probably never going to hear from them again.
Right.
Maybe every once in a blue moon, you might have somebody come, by way of referral from that person that you worked with. However, if you invest that time and money into building a working relationship with a realtor that is active, they could bring you multiple deals on a monthly, yearly basis. And to me, that's worth investing the time and money that you have personally put in for that versus the time and money it would take to invest in generating leads that you're just constantly turning over leads and then they're never coming back. So you're spending marketing just to get that one deal. Now, of course, it works, right? Like again, you're a collective genius. That's all guys really ever talk about is that kind of marketing. Spending paid marketing on cold calling, paid marketing on text blasting or direct mail campaigns, Facebook ads, PPCs, whatever. So I think it just depends on the way that you're kind of looking at how you want to run your marketing itself, right? Now, for you, it's so you said $1 million. Is that gross?
Gross profit, yeah. So that's
amazing.
The difference between purchase price and resale price.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so awesome. And if that's not proof enough for you guys, like, listen, it is definitely, and I'm sure because you've already built those relationships, it's great to me because like, I think, and you could obviously like vouch for this further than I can, but my imagination runs to say like that lead is probably as long as it meets the buy box, is probably a whole lot easier to convert than a cold lead that you're reaching out with paid marketing, because that realtor is almost that mediator between the seller and you. So that realtor is encouraging the seller to sell to Myers house buyers. Does that line of sight sound accurate?
Right. The opening question we would ask the prospect is, why do you think Sharon connected us? Scary. What are some things that Sharon maybe told you about us in the conversation she had with you when she suggested that you might call us? And that just gets us right off into the relationship right off the bat.
Yeah, there's almost no ice breaking that has to happen in a way, because they're a warm lead. Like if they've been sent over to you from a realtor, they're a warm lead. They've probably already been worked. Even if the realtor just as much as like, oh, just go talk to Paul. Like even if it was very simply put, like that weight that a relationship with the realtor has with you and then with the seller is uncanny, and it's going to be super easy to convert, and is what I would imagine.
We've moved on to doing multiple deals with multiple agents, 3, 4, 5, 6 deals with certain agents. There's one agent right now that I'm thinking of that she's a property manager. I won't mention her name because I don't have her permission, but just in the last 4 months, I think now, she's sent us 6 referrals.
Wow.
And I know we bought the first 2 homes, and we're kind of working through the next 3 that she's just sent us. So I think maybe a third one we did not buy, but I mean, it's pretty crazy when you start really looking at the dynamics of it. And it's been great for her because we pay her a referral fee, which you can pay licensees legally. You can pay them whatever they want to make, just ask them and underwrite it into the deal. Yeah. But yeah, property managers are great. We have a sub list of those within the real estate agent general list that we work with. Of course, brokers in charge are great too. They're the heads of their firm, right? So that's another sub list that I reach out to just to see if we can provide value to them through speaking engagements related to real estate investing. So there's a lot of different types of real estate agents that you can work with too. They're not all just, there's not all just residential real estate agents out there.
Yeah, of course. If you don't mind me asking, because you kind of mentioned it earlier, what that email list that you built, the campaigns that you send out currently, I've personally got to see it because you're a client of mine. I've got to take a peek inside of what you're working on and that sort of thing. What are you currently doing in order to, and you mentioned to me your open rates and all that, which is, guys, it's really, really good. Let me just weigh in on that. Talk to me about that a little bit, how you're hammering that list, what type of content you're delivering to them, and what that looks like right now.
Well, it all started from reading Dan Sullivan's book, 10X is easier than 2X. I was just looking over at my bookshelf because I couldn't remember the exact title. But, it's got some challenging things and questions about, what are strategies that would help you to grow 10X. And I thought, well, I want to maintain individual relationships with agents, but if there's a way I could communicate with them at one time to all of them, that would be thinking 10X. And so basically the best way I thought I could do that, because I knew I'd probably not get them all in a room unless I sponsored one of the local Board of Realtors events and spoke at it or something, was to do a newsletter. So I started an email newsletter after a year of plowing the ground, with my blitzkrieg, if you will. Mm-hmm. Then in January of 2023, I started my newsletter, and my first one I ever sent out, I got a 21% open rate, which I had no context for if that was good or bad. But I knew that was my sole KPI that I needed to grow. So I started studying some of the OGs, or original gangsters in content writing, like Sam Ovens and Alex Ramos, and just different people like that, and started learning how to write advertising copy. And so that led me towards becoming a better storyteller of written story form. And so I figured if there's one thing I had to do in my newsletter, it was tell great stories where there was a problem and a solution and what was done and did it work. And so that's probably the sole thing that I make sure I always do in my newsletters. And, by God's grace, we've gone up to a 59% readership now. to a group of about 1,600 agents. And I send that once a month on the first of the month by email. So it's pretty incredible to get that type of readership. That essentially means that if you send it to 1,600 agents, you get a 59% readership. It's like 900 to 1,000 agents that are literally opening my newsletter once a month, and they're thinking about me and they're interested in my content. And the unsubscription rate we get is like 1 or 2 a month, if that. And so clearly they love the content and it's beneficial to them. Otherwise they would all just unsubscribe and it'd be way time.
And in relation to the content, what type of content would you typically put inside this newsletter?
So I try not to do like market updates or stuff about interest rates, stuff that they already know that
they get from other sources.
Yeah. Right. So it's deal stories. How did we work with agents in particular? I'll do some direct to seller deal stories, but it's predominantly agent based deal stories. And then I might do some company or business updates, like we hired this person or we moved offices or, just random stuff like that. And then I'll also do Google reviews. So I'll always close with a couple Google reviews. And I love to put Google reviews from real estate agents, because then they might be like, oh, I know that agent. I've done a deal with them. Or I know that agent. They're in my brokerage, I can't believe that agent. That's cool that agent said good things about Paul. I didn't even know that they didn't do it. So I'll close with Google reviews. And then one other thing I'll mix in above the Google reviews, the second to last thing in my newsletter template is like a deal updates. So if I have any personal rentals in my rental portfolio that are available for rent, I'll put a list of 2 to 3 to 4 of those that are vacant. Or if we're fixing and flipping 123 Easy Street and these other 3 homes, I'll put like a coming soon, this address, it's a 3-2 in this subdivision, going to be priced at this price. If you want to work a deal with us directly, I'll pay you a commission. Just call me. And then I'll pay them a buyer's co-op fee. So then they kind of see, oh yeah, he's doing deals, he's for real. He's got these flips going on. He's got these rentals. So it just kind of gives them more, it gives me more bona fides. It gives them more proof of concept and credibility in my firm and the things we're doing. So those are the 4 things I would say.
Interrupting this podcast episode to tell you guys that this podcast is managed and produced by Color Media Productions. Yes, shameless plug, that's my company. However, we do this for a lot of other people as well. Most people that we work with are in the real estate investing space. So if you're listening to this podcast specifically, you probably are a real estate investor, given it's called the REI Marketing Weekly. If you're somebody that either wants to start a podcast or you have one going and it's becoming a little bit of a hassle, you're looking to transition to somebody that works a little bit better with a fluid motion in terms of you get the recordings done and then they do everything else. Well, that's what we do. We do fully managed podcasts from start to finish, video, audio, show noting, the graphics, publishing, everything that goes into it. It's a full service business that we run here in a service for you as a real estate investor if you are running a podcast. Additionally, we also do social media and YouTube management as well. So all of that being on the organic side, if you are interested in learning more about working with us and just recording content with guidance and strategy set by myself personally, and then not doing anything else after that, where we're taking care of everything from start to finish, then make sure you go check us out at colormedia.com, CULLER media.com. Hit us up there and we can learn more about working together, hop on a phone call and see what we could do for you. Now back to the episode. Yeah, of course. Realtors, the last thing in the world that they want to do is work with a real estate investor that isn't like a practitioner of what he's talking about. And I think that's where a lot of that type of content and that information that you're feeding them provides that credibility to like, oh, well, Paul is actually doing deals and he has done a deal with this person that I know. And that person I know is a very credible person as well. So like there's all of those relevancy points that really weigh in on like, Paul's not going to screw around with me. He's not going to, try to pull the wool over my eyes or pull a quick one on me and that sort of thing. And that kind of stuff, like realtors think about that because they're obviously like worried about themselves and their commission fees, but they're also worried about their seller, right?
Sounds for the seller, yeah. Yeah, we used to put in our newsletter. I don't know why we stopped this, but we used to put deals in the month and then deals year to date. So it'd say like January we bought 5 homes, or excuse me, February we bought 10 homes, and year to date, we bought 15 homes. For October, we bought our 3 more homes, and year to date through October, we bought 37 homes. So you put something like that, then it definitely establishes your credibility to where they're like, okay, yeah, he's obviously doing a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So great segue going into Google reviews. This is one thing I definitely want to spend a little bit of time on before I let you go for the show. First of all, thank you for all that info about the building relationships with realtors. I think it's going to help a lot of people and really incite a lot of action as well, which is, obviously where we want people to be at. So at the moment, you have 709 Google reviews on Myers House Buyers Google My Business page. That's amazing. You're going to hit 1,000 very soon. I'm excited to see what happens when that happens. Let's talk about now, again, like this kind of conversation came up because you gave a presentation at Collective Genius in a room that I was part of. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. Everybody needs to hear about this. So talk to me about, first of all, I'm curious as to like what the benefits are of actually building out a good Google My Business page. Because I think a lot of people like theoretically know like, okay, it's for reviews and it makes like, I got to get put on Google Maps and that sort of thing. But just to me, it's all about the SEO. It's about the authority marketing. Like when it comes to the benefits of building a good Google My Business page with great reviews, how has that benefited you in terms of being able to build your brand and all that?
Yeah, well, it starts with a Google My Business profile, right? And obviously, I respect Google. It's the future, and so I want to be easily found, and I want to be easily researched and screened. So we ended up building out our business profile. I hired a guy that I knew through Carrot, through a Carrot camp, and basically paid him, and worked with him to build out a Google My Business profile. This is, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, but not long. And, I just took his advice. I had pictures of my family, my team, our office, our physical office. Obviously it has our location. And so if anyone's watching this, you could just go to Google Maps and search Myers House Buyers in Augusta, Georgia. If you want to see my profile and rip it off, there you go. But just if you think of like all the reasons why people don't want to deal with or might be hesitant to do business with a home buyer, think about the objections that might come up like, hey, this person's not local. Well, now I'm showing you that I'm local. This person doesn't have a physical office. We hear that a lot. Like they just have a PO box. What's up with that?
Yeah.
Well, we have a physical office. Here's the pictures of our conference room, our foyer, our offices, here we are. And then who is this guy? Like, is he a legitimate guy? So I just kind of put pictures of my family, pictures of my team, so they understand. Putting faces to names, I think just increases people's comfortability level, their willingness to reach out. And then the reviews. I mean, it's all about third-party authentication and social proof. That's not coming from me specifically. It's coming from, people that have done business with us and know us well. You can't get to that number of reviews. I would never bought a review to this day. It's all been just hard work, blood, sweat, and tears of getting to that 710 reviews. And to me, I think it just takes the credibility question off the table. When someone's looking to sell maybe their largest asset, and when you consider that people typically only sell a home once every 10, 20, 30 years, it's a big deal for them. If they don't have to do the due diligence to figure out if you're credible or not, why not just make that easy for them and take that off the table? I think it's a way you can serve people, and also obviously increase your closing ratio and be able to help more people.
Yeah, of course. So while you're talking, I did kind of a review. So actually, couple episodes ago from the publishing of this, we actually released an episode with Matt Begak. And we talked about GEO, so generative engine optimization. So I'm going off a little bit of a tangent right now, Paul, but it's very relevant to what you're talking about and why it's important. So generative engine optimization is basically AI search. So if I go to ChatGPT and I'm looking to get an answer for a specific task that I'm working on, which more and more people are doing. I very rarely go to Google to get answers now. I just go straight to ChatGPT. And the theory behind that is that ChatGPT is going to give me the exact answer that I'm looking for in relation to my specific problem or the thing that I'm looking for, the solution to the problem I'm looking for. Whereas Google, you could search on Google, but it's going to give you a bunch of options. It's going to make it like the person that's searching has to go look for the option and pick the option. Whereas ChatGPT will almost tee it up right for you, depending on your prompt and what you're looking for. So you'll be happy to hear, Paul. I went to ChatGPT and typed in, if I wanted to sell my house in Augusta, Georgia and sell it as is for a cash offer, who would I sell to? And you were the first option out of that. So Myers House Buyers, a local cash home buying home buyer offering fair cash offers for houses in any condition with a quick closing process and no commissions. So then it gives a couple other options, but like let me do another digging here. So if I say, great, are reviews for Myers House Buyers good? Let's see what it says here. So this is important because this is what people are going to rely on, and AI is going to be searching website reviews as well. And also, you're talking about Google My Business. I think it's also relevant on Better Business Bureau too, right?
Sure.
So it says, yes, Myers House Buyers in Augusta, Georgia has received positive reviews from clients. The company holds an A+ accreditation with the Better Business Bureau. Clients have praised their professionalism, efficiency, and the ease of selling process. They have also been commented for their responsive communication and ability to complete transactions within a tight 2-week time frame. So, and this is searching your website, but also Google My Business. That's where it got the sources from, and the Better Business Bureau website. So it's important to understand, like, this is why building a Google My Business profile is important, not just for Google reviews now, but also, Paul, it's going to be for AI, which now with Gemini coming up, Gemini being Google's AI operating system, people are going to be looking for that kind of stuff. And if you have a good content base of Google reviews and also you're populating your website and profiles and all that stuff, this all plays into it, and it's all about that credibility. And I think this is a good 1-2 punch with the realtor relationship, because possibly the next step after a realtor says, go talk to Paul, well, that seller's probably going to go check you out on Google My Business, right? You see if this is a good, and when they see there's 700 positive 5-star reviews, it's like, what do you have to say? Like, this is a deal. So well, it's great.
It's cool if you go to Google Maps and you pull up Myers House Buyers and you click on reviews. I like how it has, what are the words that are most commonly mentioned in the reviews?
Integrity, real estate investing, investor, resource.
That's right. Meaning, presentation, word, partnership. So yeah, I know that it's playing off all those commonly used words, and it's, I think it's a good representation of who we are, and so.
And you get all your testimonials there and everything. So I want to wrap this up because we're getting towards the end of the recording here. I want to make sure I keep this tight, but you go ahead.
The thing about selling, though, if anyone knows anything about sales, is selling isn't telling. Selling is asking questions and listening. Yeah. And so I want to be able to ask a seller, are you interested in the highest price or the most reliable offer? When they get a puzzled look on their face, and they say, well, I want a reliable offer, not just the highest price. Then I want to be able to say, well, have you considered, or could I make a suggestion about how you could ensure that an offer might be reliable? And that's where the conversation steers towards Google reviews, because there are a lot of unreliable people out there that, for whatever reason are still in business. And so I just want to have a resource where it's not me screaming from the rooftops that I'm reliable. I'd rather it be, again, a third party, and like the social proof, and that's important to me. Yeah,
that's powerful. I think that's huge and definitely worth its weight in gold. So as we wrap up here, I want to give some like 1, 2, 3s ABCs on what people should do to get going on building out, because all this in theory sounds great, but unless we have action steps, it may be difficult and a challenge to actually get the ball rolling. So what are some of the first things that you would have people do? Let's just either pretend that they don't have a Google My Business. Like, obviously, let's go Google how to get a Google My Business. Okay, now how do we start getting reviews? How do we start building it out? What's the first steps that you would advise?
We certainly want to write it into your standard operating procedures. If you have a transaction coordinator or a dispositions manager, or I don't know what the makeup of your average listener's firm is or what they're doing, whether they're fix and flipping or wholesaling or a landlord or whatever. But you certainly obviously want to start getting reviews. And then, I think a lot of people think about Google reviews in with blinders on. If I can only get Google reviews from someone that is specifically using my service right in this moment. Well, you probably have a backlog of deals you've done over the last 1, 2, 5, 10 years. And you can go back and ask reviews of those people that you did deals with in the past. And then, so you're going to do it going forward. You're going to go get people from the past. And then you have just other general people who you've interacted with well and kind of added value to their life. For me, it might be, maybe I speak in front of a group of real estate agents and I add value to their life and they love the presentation. I got no problem asking them for a Google review if I've add value in some way to their life and what they're doing in their business. There could be a service provider or, a law firm that you've closed hundreds of deals with or 2 deals with, like, have you talked to the owner of the firm, the attorney, the paralegals, the closing coordinator? Like, these are all people that if you've worked well with and maybe they're a vendor of yours or something, you should be asking those people as well. So I finally just got tired of telling people, through coaching them, that I built a list of I think you were in this presentation, it's like 41 avatars of different people I ask for reviews. And it could be your commercial bike, it could be a million different people. But if you've, done business with them and to some degree, you should consider them. And then, the step 2 is just make it easy. Reach out to them and say, hey, if it only took 10 seconds and I made it really easy by just texting you the link, would you mind taking 10 seconds to leave me a Google review? If you text someone that and they respond and say, sure, just text them the link, and make it don't try and post on Facebook or send a mass email to get reviews or anything like that. Just make it very one-to-one personal.
The intentional touch. Yeah.
Very intentional, but then make it as easy and as frictionless as possible. And then I even have a little shortcut saved on my phone through my iPhone where if I'm sending a text and I type in ZZ, it pre-populates my review page.
Oh.
And it pre-populates a text message that says, here's the link straight, thanks. Here's the link straight to my review page, and it has the hyperlink. So that way, when they say yes, I just click ZZ send, and they get the link, along with some gratitude, right? So those are a couple of suggestions.
So it's a habit you've developed is to anybody that you operate and work within to send them that, and then ask them for a review. And I agree with the touch of the actual personal text, because I'm a vendor of yours and you sent me a text specifically asking for a review. And I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Now, if you posted that, let's say right after the Collective Genius presentation you did, you posted that in the Facebook group, you might have 1 or 2 people, but if you texted them individually and said, can you go do that? Yes. I'm not going to say you're a nice guy. You're a great dude. No way I'm going to say no to that. Yeah, let me take a little bit of time to help you out. You know what I'm saying? I think that's huge. So
and people, you don't have to ask them to leave a comment. If they just want to rate 5 stars or 4 stars, whatever they want to rate it, they don't have to leave a comment, or some people ask, hey, what do you want me to write? And you can give them something if it helps them to make it easier for them. But notice I didn't say text them the link to your Google My Business profile. That's a different thing. You can forward your Google My Business profile out of the Google Maps app. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying text them the link straight to the review page.
Yeah, so they don't have to go find it.
Yeah, they don't have to go find it. Just literally make it as easy as possible. I click the link. I click 5 stars. I click in the comment box if I want to write a comment. I click post. I'm done.
Yeah, that's huge. Paul, this has been absolutely phenomenal. I can't believe that we were able to get through these two topics as well as we did, but I appreciate all the information you gave. I'll definitely have to have you back again soon to go a little bit deeper into some of these things. But if somebody did want to get in contact with you to, maybe they're in Augusta and they wanted to, link up with you, or maybe they're a realtor that could potentially bring you some deals or whatever, or somebody else that just wants to connect with you in general, what's the best way to get in touch with you and to learn more about working with you?
Yeah, you can probably reach out to Maggie Steed, my executive assistant. Her email is contact@myershousebuyers.com, and that's Myers, M-Y-E-R-S. Or if you want to just email me, although she monitors my email. Either way, you can email me at paul@myershousebuyers.com. That's Myers, M-Y-E-R-S, housebuyers.com. And I wish your listeners all the best of luck in building their own base of Google reviews, as well as building win-win relationships with agents. Just treat them according to the golden rule. Treat them the way you want to be treated, and you'll find success there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are also putting content out for Paul, so we'll link all that below so you can go check out all of his content as well. Talks about a lot of this stuff and a whole lot more, just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to building relationships and being a local authority. So, Paul, I appreciate your time, man. It's been great. I look forward to having you back again soon as well.
Yeah, and thank you for all your continued partnership with Color Media. I really appreciate y'all do a phenomenal job. I'm thankful for your professionalism. My only regret is that I didn't start with you a year earlier when we first met. So thank you again for all your help in continuing to help me improve my online presence.
Of course. Very much appreciated. Guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. Like I said, if you want to get in contact with Paul, make sure you do go check out the show notes down in the description below. Follow him on social media, and then also shoot him or Maggie an email and get linked up with them. That's going to do it for today's episode. If you haven't already, I very much appreciate it if you would leave a review on the podcast here. You can go ahead and pause that and head over to the homepage, leave a 5-star review. That would be amazing. And then also, if you haven't already, I am putting out lots of great content in terms of how to teach you how to create your own content and that sort of thing. So you can find me on YouTube. Just look up Josh Culler and you'll find my YouTube channel there. A lot of really, really great stuff that I'm putting out and teaching other people how to be able to create their own content, how to come up with topics, how to shoot better video and that sort of thing. So I think you get a lot of value out of that. But other than that, thank you so much for stopping by and listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. See you later.
Thanks, John.